Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 876, it's just me here this week. Rich is still travelling, I should be back next week, and Gary couldn't make it tonight. So rather than not do a show at all, I thought I'd do a quick update with a couple of items. I also wanted to do it as well because I'm testing this new Fi-Fi and USB microphone with the colour array, so I'll have a separate video of that probably out later this week talking about that, but you can judge for yourself the audio quality, so I thought I'd use that as well. So there's actually still a few things I wanted to touch on this week to make sure we covered before we all catch up next week with the full news podcast. So it'll be shorter this week, but definitely still wanted to bring you something. So things we're going to be talking about this week. Actually, I've got an interesting one, slightly different. I mentioned last week I've actually did fix my synthesizer, my DX100. We'll be talking about that. We're talking about iCloud, getting your iCloud photos into Windows 11, into the Photos app. We've got some new builds of Windows 11. We had a dev channel build last week, and we've got a beta channel build this week as well. So I'm going to show you some highlights of that as well. So let's start off with the insider news. So this week we got, or last week we got a new build of Windows 11. So it's 25236 for Windows insiders on the dev channel. So what was new in this build? So 25236 just had the one change, which was the tooltip on the search. So as you can see here on my screen, so yeah, so it's just a different tooltip. If I hover over it, I get if I hover it over onto my production machine, in fact it's not doing anything. Perhaps it's because I'm in video capture mode, but it would normally give you previous search results, I think. But now you've got this logo. I actually didn't get that changed because as usual, Microsoft A/B testing, so I didn't get that change delivered to my build. I have noticed this search button keeps changing as well. So I had the search button was the original magnifying glass, and then on my Surface Laptop Studio, before I put 22H2 on it, it was like a coloured in magnifying glass, and now it's changed into a little search mini button or mini box as well. So audio listeners, you can check out my videos, you'll see this. But yeah, Microsoft are still trying different things with the search button. But anyway, for the builds themselves, the only real change that I could show in the build video that I did last week was the full screen mode of the widgets, which Microsoft introduced a few weeks ago, and they've just actually put that into the beta channel, so we'll talk about the beta channel later. So the full screen widgets are back and are available now for Windows insiders on the dev channel. It was a few weeks ago they released it, but as usual, Microsoft don't release everything to everybody at the same time. So I think that was just about the only change that I could really spot. There was the usual fixes and the known issues. I think the known issues, there are a couple of new ones. One to watch out for is the you can't use the ISO to install this build. You might get a service exception, blue screen or green screen, I think, of death that it is now. So wait for that one. And the projection mode wasn't working correctly as well. So not a huge amount in this build to look at. A bit light on features. In fact, what's got probably more features at the moment is the beta channel. I say more features, but it's actually getting features that we've not been seeing all the time in the other channels. So Microsoft do the A/B testing as usual, but what they've introduced this week are some new energy recommendation settings if you go into system, power and battery. And again, with the A/B testing, none of my beta builds picked this change up, so they're just starting to roll that out. So that's 226.23.885 with features, or you may have 226.21.885 without features. You can switch from 621 to 623 in Windows Update. You can't go back the other way, so you can go from the featureless version to the feature version, but not switch back the other way. You can usually go to a high build number, but you can never go back without doing a reinstall. So that's good as well. The other thing that they've added, if you've got a neural processing unit, which is something in the Surface Pro X, I think, with the ARM processor, you can do. There's a quick access to the features that you can turn on, the eye tracking and camera tracking and that kind of thing. The settings aren't new; they're already there in settings. It's just that they've added a button down here in Action Center. So there's a Windows Studio button down in the bottom right hand side where all the flight mode and volume sliders are and everything else. So that's new, that was in this build as well. So that's the changes with these builds this week as well. So I'm hoping we should get some new features, and I would really like to see some less A/B testing. And when they talk about new features where you can actually get to test them, one of the things that sort of I've seen a few stories around this week is Microsoft putting adverts on the start menu, and what that means is that where the power button is, when you click on start, you can actually get notifications. You may have seen them before, saying that you've got like your machine needs a reboot to install updates. They've added things in like that, enable OneDrive or things like that. So they were trying these out a couple of weeks ago, and those were only insiders didn't get to test them straight away. They're just starting to come out now, and that's generating some news stories. So Microsoft aren't necessarily putting adverts in there. They're just adding notifications in there for services, which is adverts-ish. I'm sure Rich will have something to say about that next week when he's back, but that's what the issues are with and that's why people are commenting about, you're seeing those. It's insider testing, so it may well never ever hit the release version of Windows, because it's just insiders testing these things. So so don't get too worried about it. And talking of features that you can test as well, Microsoft added a Hotspot feature into the Phone Link application, and so what that means is from the Phone Link application, which I can show you. So this is the Phone Link application. So from Microsoft's Phone Link application, you can actually just launch the hotspot. In fact, you don't even have to load the application. What you can do is launch it down here from the Wi-Fi. So I captured a video of this so I can show you. But if you go down to the Wi-Fi settings, where you can see all your list of Wi-Fis, if you've already set this up and you've got a compatible phone, I used the Samsung Galaxy Note to try this out. The hotspot feature will be there within your Wi-Fi settings, so you'll see the locally viewed Wi-Fi. So you'll see, like on my example video here, you'll see the access points that my Surface could see, and you'll see one there that says Ian's Galaxy Note mobile hotspot off. If you click on that, it then turns on the hotspot on the phone and then connects to it. So it saves you that steps of, if you wanted to hotspot, you've got to get your phone, turn the hotspot on, go back to your PC, from the Wi-Fi, find your hotspot, connect to it. This does it in one step, and that's something that's been tested out for insiders. I think it's a nice feature, that, and it makes it easier to hotspot. And again, it saves you getting your phone out of your pocket. I haven't tested it yet with the Surface Duo 2 because that's paired up with this device, which is not running an insider program. So I tested it with a different device that is on the insider program, and that's why I use the Samsung phone. So I think that's a great feature, actually, and that's a much simplified way of being able to start the hotspots off. So I think that's definitely a good thing. In fact, when I talked about it last week with Garry on the show, we talked about that feature, and I said to him, I'm sure I remember that feature being a thing a while ago. What happened? So I want to thank Daniel Harris, who left a comment on our YouTube channel about it, and he said you were right, that we had the hotspot feature before. It was called Hotspot 2.0, and it always assumed it was standard. And then he updated his comment to say he's confused it with something else. it was a feature with Windows Phone mobile hotspot on the PC. So that's what I was confusing around. If you have Windows Phone, you could do what I was talking about before. You could launch the hotspot from your PC. It would turn it on your phone and pair to it. So thanks, Daniel, for the comment. And you're right, Windows Phone had that feature before. Also, another comment that's interesting from Daniel as well. He said he found the tablet taskbar, optimized taskbar, a bit flaky. I could say on my Surface Go I haven't really had that issue. I've got it around here somewhere. Main issues I have with the Surface Go is my keyboard doesn't work, so the whole thing is a bit clunky now, having to use touch only, and there's a couple of dead spots as well on the screen. So but that's what they use the that's what the insider testing is for, I suppose, Daniel. But anyway, thanks for your comments. Do like getting your comments, so you can leave them on YouTube channel. You can send them to me at @IceDixon on Twitter, or ian@thedigital.com. We've not had any listener emails for a while, so get those in and give me a shout. Also, talking of insider features as well, I had another video up last week of how you can use how you can get iCloud photos directly into the Photos app on Windows 11. This is just being tested for Windows insiders at the moment. You just install the iCloud app, Apple's iCloud app, from the Microsoft Store, and then when you go into this new version of the Photos app, you'll see iCloud photos in there, and then you can take them, you can view them from there. You can move them to OneDrive as well, so free up a bit of space if you want to free up some space in your iCloud and have them all or directly in your PC. So have a look at that video. If you're an iPhone user, then it's well worth getting that connection set up if you're on the Insider program, and using that for your photos. If you're not, if you're not on the Insider program, you can wait. That feature will come to general Windows as well pretty soon. So look out for that one. And the final thing I want to mention is, I mentioned right at the start, is I did change the battery in my 36-year-old Yamaha DX100 synth. So I've had this a long time, and it started coming up with change RAM battery message, which means if without the battery, the all the user programs will be gone, and it'll do a factory reset every time you power it on. So I thought I'd better get round to doing it. It's been doing the message a while. So it actually uses the standard like watch style flat batteries, the Duracell 203-2s, CR203-2s, which you can get off Amazon. So I got some of those. With this on the DX100, it's actually soldered directly onto the board. The battery has got the pins soldered to the board, so I didn't want to do that. So I bought some holders, like I'm showing on the screen now. So little battery holders. So you put the battery in there, and then the wires from the battery holder are soldered onto the board of the synth now. So if that battery ever needs changed again, you just open up the synth, pop out the little battery holder, swap the battery, put it back in. No soldering needed. So I recorded a video of that as well, in case anybody else wants to know how to do it, because I didn't find much info on it. It's a fairly straightforward process if you're okay with soldering. I did a bit of a worry the solder track was lifting, so I had to use it to the next sort of position on the board, but that was okay. And the other thing it does, of course, is you take the battery out, it's all powered down, and it loses its memory as well. So I lost my user programs. But what I did do before I started, I used an application called DX Manager for Windows, and that uses MIDI. So I've got it connected up now, and so that application will allow you to take all the user presets back to your PC as a file, and then when I've finished and reset it all, I just sent them back down to it again, and they were all there. So that's all working. So the DX100 now is working okay. Battery's going to do its job, and the last battery lasts 36 years, so I think it might be okay for a while for this current battery, even if it doesn't last as long as the other ones. I now no longer have to solder it. So a lot of actual equipment uses those style batteries, like synths and things like that. Lots of 80s stuff, and even newer synths use those batteries as well. So it's handy to be able to do that. So I have to get solder sucker out. I've not done much soldering for a while, but anyway, all done. So that's job done, and the synth is working great now. So that's it for this week's show. Next week, hopefully Gary will be back, Richard will be back, and we'll catch up on some of these topics as well. We've got to get Richard's thoughts on some of these advertising things and Gary's thoughts as well. So we'll be talking about that. Like I said, it'll be nice to get in touch with some email or comments. Thanks to Daniel for his comments on this week's show as well. We'll be back next week. See you then.